Hello, this is BoF Live. I'm Tim Blanks. Today we're talking to Ibrahim Kamara. It's a very exciting conversation for me because I don't know how I would describe Ib actually, but he's had a huge impact on my love of fashion imagery over the last few years. He's actually revitalized my love of magazines, and I'm not going to blow any more smoke. I'm just going to ask Ib. Hello, Ib. Welcome. How would you describe yourself?
I would say I'm still sort of growing and what's the English? I'm evolving. I think every time I make a photo, I'm learning something new. So I'm still very happy to make work. I don't know if that sort of answers your question.
As a stylist, an art director, I mean,
Stylist, as a art director, as a image maker, as a thinker, as a writer, I think I'm still like exploring the things that make me happy and sort of the things I want to say to the world.
I think what really stands out for me is that you've created your own universe with your imagery, so that whoever you're working for, you're welcoming them into your world. And I think that's, if I look at great fashion photography in the past, and I look at the relationship between the most famous photographers and their stylists, it's the same situation. They have a very, very identifiable signature, and anyone who works with them steps into their world. Would you say that that's something that's been an aim for you?
Yes, definitely. I used to work for Barry Kamen, who I thought really sort of gave me that energy. Like if you want to have a longer chance into the world, you kind of have to have a voice. And I've always tried to find my voice and the things I want to say. And I think whenever I work with somebody, I try to really push my energy into that picture and my yeah, pretty much that. I really try very hard to make sure my stamp is on a body of work, and people can learn from that and
I
take from.
haven't, I haven't even asked you where you are, where we're talking to you, because obviously we're doing this because of these extraordinary times we're living through. Where are you? Where have you been for the last few weeks in lockdown? And how has that been for you? And then we will get back to what you just said, because obviously that's very important for us to pursue.
I'm in London. I live in Hackney, which is beautiful. There's a little greens around me, so I've been going to the park, like making my own coffee, my own tea, like going for a run, trying not to see anybody, reading. So yeah, it's been good, but also so sad because so many of my friends, live so close by, and I can't really see them. But I think it's for the greater good. So
Are you
that's
speaking
my
remotely?
say.
Are you speaking remotely? Are you in touch with everyone? You don't feel
Yeah,
lonely?
definitely. I mean, my mom calls me every day. I've never been called so much in my life. When my mom calls me every day, are you home? Are you sure you're home? So it's been good to talk to friends, family, and loved ones. And have you been well?
Yes, I mean, same situation. I think we live a pretty isolated existence anyway, so it's been very easy just to stay inside. Jeff and me inside, and I go to the park. I started doing this power walk every morning, 12,000 step power walk, which is I think 11 kilometers. I mean, that's more than I've exercised since high
That's a
school
lot.
swim team. But it's good. But something about your work, very distinctive about your work, is and I think I imagine in a funny way, it would be quite useful when you're locked down and you're forced to use what's around you. I mean, I'm thinking of something like you did the cover of Luncheon magazine and you made a crown out of pasta.
Yeah.
And that is the sort of project that I could imagine desperate parents saying to their children, you see what Ib Kamara did on the cover of that magazine with a packet of pasta. I challenge you children to make a crown out of pasta. I mean, the beauty, the elegance, and the ingenuity of turning a packet of pasta into a crown. I mean, that's lockdown
Thanks.
therapy.
Definitely. I mean, it was fun to do it with Paolo, who is from, who I love so much. But also, I was born in Freetown to a very poor family, so we didn't really have like TV. I didn't really know much about pop culture, so I kind of had to dream and just imagine things. And I do feel sometimes I'm still like a 4-year-old in my mind, like nothing is really strange. I can just make and anything I think of, and that's the way I kind of approach the way I style. Like if I can have that look, I'm gonna have to just make something else, and that's the way I think. I don't like when people tell me it's not possible. I think even with my team, I think that's the one word we don't really use when we work together. It's not possible. We try to just go for it and like find anything to make things happen. And I just dream a lot. I think I never want to stop dreaming. I think when you grow up, you kind of have to stop. But I don't want to stop. I want to just keep that going and see how far I can get away with it.
It's the power of dreaming, but it's also the power of play as well. There is something so incredibly playful in your work.
For sure. I think also not being afraid, like when I'm doing a body of work, I really give my all and like play a lot and have so much fun doing it. Sometimes I can be in the Amazon on my knees, like, working with plants and stuff. And, like with those, you just use your mind and just sort of create and keep going. And most times you don't really know what you're doing because there's so much going on. But then at the end of the day, it's a beautiful body of work.
Do you find yourself, I've been reading a lot about people dreaming now at this time when, because there's a sort of kind of forced inactivity in the daytime, that people aren't doing as much in the daytime as they used to do. So their dream worlds have become a lot more active and people are talking about dreaming in color a lot more. Do you find your dreams are more vivid at the moment? I can't even imagine why you would need to dream more vividly because what you do is so vivid. But
it's funny because I am really struggling to sleep these days because I think I'm just like, looking at so many films and getting so inspired. But then it sort of happens in a 4-hour sleep or 5-hour sleep. And I have to wake up and write those notes and I have to wake up and draw and like, so I don't know whether that's my way of sort of dealing with what's going on, where I'm taking in so much information because, as you know, when you start working in this industry, it goes so fast and you keep going and going and going. So for the past month, I've just sat at home and just taken so much information. And I'm trying to process that in my dreams and trying to write those ideas and finding new people and new things that are so inspiring. So, I mean, in a way, my dreams I can really achieve those dreams because I'm in lockdown, but I can also write them and I can plan them and I can make notes about them and hopefully when everything goes back to normal, I can bring them to life.
But what does your work look like at the moment then?
I think for the past year, I've been trying to sort of polish it. I don't know if that's a good answer. Try to go extreme, but also make it more beautiful and still not being afraid to try new things and new concepts. I think my work is right now is in nature, politics, culture. I think those are the three things now I'm kind of looking at and seeing how I can,
But if they're your themes, how are you actually physically working right now. That I was thinking more, well, what is your work day? Because I know that for all the sort of the absolute, the fantasy and the beauty of your images, it's fascinating for me how much of them actually comes out of technology, that you found Kristen Lee Muhlman, the photographer who you've done incredible bodies of work with, online, and these spirits that you've communed with to make these beautiful kind of primal images actually come from online relationships.
Yes, definitely.
Really interesting.
Yeah, but also I think that's what's been so good about my generation. So like the days where you really have to like go to magazines and have to like intern, which is a good thing. I think it's very good to intern. But now we sort of find each other. I've been working with friends online where they take photos of me. I've been scanning my face at home, like, which is really not good for you, but because the light is really bad for your eyes. But I've been really trying to push ideas and find ways, but also trying not to stress about it. I think I still need to take my time and understand that there's a bigger thing out there than me just making work in my house. But yeah, I think going back to Christine, I found her on Instagram and we just became friends, and we just traveled and make work. And it's been so good to find people that you think can bring something to your world, and then they becoming your friends, and yeah.
I should tell everybody at this point that if they go to your Instagram at Kamara, they can see those face scans, and that's what you're talking about, isn't it? The face scans on your and they're quite creepy. Did you want them to be sort of slightly eerie?
Honestly, I was just playing around. So I have this. I don't know if you can see. I have this big light. Like I found it in a bin somewhere, and I got this big, massive light. I mean, these lights are not really good for my eyes, but I've been really trying. And so I've been putting my face in this light and just like moving the scanner left, right to center. Just because I see Paolo work, I see Marta Marcus work, I see Christine work, I see all these amazing people I get to work with. And I'm kind of like trying to step into their world and see if I can sort of take photos of myself. But and I think also for once, I'm not trying to be beautiful. I'm not trying to make a beautiful picture. It's like whatever this kind of gives me, that's what I'm gonna get. Because there's no one here but me just making this picture. So yeah, I'm just letting the scanner does its thing with me, and then, but also really pushing different things with it.
I mean, I think it is a moment right now where everybody is so locked down, closed off. All the traditional ways of working are blown out of the water. You're going to see people who have a vision, a vision that's strong enough to realize in very reduced circumstances, like you can do this thing with the scanner. I actually, I want to ask you something. You did a page in self-service where it's not really a manifesto, but you made quite a strong and interesting statement about, I'm going to read something to you, where you said that you wonder if the world would be a much better creative space if we all worked down a little corner of the world with less pressure of what the other is up to. Like if there wasn't this constant cross-pollination that we see in the fashion industry, where you actually said everyone is practically looking at the same things and references. So if there wasn't this constant cross-pollination, if people were actually in their own little worlds, working on their vision without outside influence, that you felt there was a time when there was a time in the past where that's the way people worked, and then commerce intruded and took away the pure creativity of people just following their own stars in a way. And I was curious, I wanted to ask you about that because you you do say, should we look at the past and learn from that? Or should we continue in this direction of uncertainty and hope that it is all a dream we will one day wake up from?
Yeah.
Explain.
You know, I was referencing to the time where, I saw this film, the Holy Mountain, like a couple of years ago, and the pure genius behind that. But
The
then,
Jodorowsky movie.
I mean, yes, I mean, it's just brilliant. Like every frame is a picture. But also within that time, there were so many other things happening. So you couldn't really copy it because you didn't really see it until it was finished. And I was thinking, now we live in a time where everything is on Instagram, everything is online. Like, shoots are coming out and you're seeing everything, everyone is doing everything. It kind of works in your subconscious where you think you need to be doing that. You need to be like, making this kind of work. And
to be successful.
Yes, and it really kills ideas and like dreams. And if we're all doing the same thing, I think that was my point of view. And I hope like young kids don't look at the work I'm doing, the work that's out there, and think that's what I need to do, because we all dream differently, and and it's good to just find your voice. Like, what do you have to say to the world? And I don't believe the world need 10 of me doing the same thing. I think it's great that everyone can bring something just a little bit different. And then we have this beautiful, colorful space that is just so brilliant. And again, going back to that Holy Mountain and some of the movies that I love, and it's just brilliance and people using their mind to just create brilliant body of work that they didn't think will, find a space for people like me to see and be like, wow, I'm so inspired, but I can do that because it's already done. I'm going to try to make something else, but with that energy, with that spirit. And so I think that was my point of view when I wrote that text for self-service.
Yeah, and of course it makes me realize why I respond to your work the way I do, that I just haven't seen anything else like that. And I remember, without even knowing who you were, I would see photo shoots and I'd think, wow. And maybe they'd be with Paolo Roversi, whose work I have known for decades, but you would be bringing this other quality. I mean, you mentioned nature. You use plants so beautifully. You respect nature. The weird, eccentric beauty of nature that you bring into your photographs. I mean, I find it quite thrilling. But I'm curious, when you talk about people from the past whose vision was so unique and uninfluenced by what was happening around them, and you mentioned Jodorowsky, but who in fashion had that effect on you when you were a kid?
I would say John Galliano. I think he's such a dreamer, John. I'll say Jean-Paul Gouge, like I am obsessed with everything he's done. Coming to know Paolo, over the past 2 years have been incredible. Who else really? When I was when I was at CSM, there was this woman called God, I can't remember her name. Sorry, yeah. I mean, names are really not my
Me too.
strongest point of view. But
Louise Wilson.
yeah, she was incredible. But I really love what John did. For me, I mean, there's so much dreams and depth and like level of research that he brought into the fashion scene that I loved. And when I used to work for Barry mentioned Nemeth a lot, and
Mr. Nemeth, yeah.
And I loved his work too. I love everything he did.
And Barry came up as one of the Buffalo boys for the stylist Ray Petrie.
Yes.
And I think about the physicality of Ray Petrie's images, the sort of the masculine eroticism of his images, and the very different kinds of models, men and women, that he brought into fashion. And I guess I can see that there's a through line from Ray Petrie through Barry Kamen to you. I can see
Thank
something similar.
Thank you. You know, Barry really, I think, installed taste and styling. I don't think you can teach taste, but you can sort of get bits and, you know, from taste. But he really made sure I really, what's the word, understood why I was doing styling. You know, he was brilliant and really shaped me, I think, and really pushed me. I mean, he made the space where I can be anything. You know, I had all these crazy things and making crazy stuff, and he would say, you know, keep doing it, keep going, wilder, and he was the best.
Were you going to be a doctor at one point?
Yes, I was. You know, my mom really made sure when I moved to England, I was going to go to uni to study to be a GP. But I was very good at it, but I just didn't like it. So I just didn't want to do it, and so I sort of used my scientific um, what's the word teachings into what I do now, where I really push ideas, experiment a lot. So I think even though I didn't go on to be a GP, I hope she's happy that I can still use those little things I learned.
Is she?
Not really. she still thinks, are you still sewing? I'm like, Mom, tailors make a lot of money. So, I mean, it's a great job. So,
Giorgio Armani's mother is still well, no, she's not alive, obviously, but you know, he was supposed to be an architect. So, and Gianfranco Ferré was supposed to be a doctor, actually, as well. Maybe there's something in there that's interesting. But what with that in mind, that you were on this path, on this quite you know, professional path.
yeah.
You mentioned John Galliano. You talked about how assisting Barry Kamen was a huge influence on you. But when did fashion? What particularly in fashion? What images? You left Sierra Leone when you were 13, right?
When I was 16.
16. Was fashion in your life before then?
I think in music, yes. But also, you know, we used to get our clothes made by a local guy. Sorry.
What was that?
I think it's the ambulance.
Oh.
But you know, when I was young, my mom will take us to get our stuff made. So I guess that was fashion, but I didn't really understand why I had to get, you know, measured to like get like a top made or a shirt made. But you know, I used to watch Michael Jackson, you know, so great fashion in there. But really, I didn't really have much around me to play with.
Madonna?
Madonna, it was when I really moved to
I'm thinking of Jean-Paul Goude and, you know, Jean-Paul Gaultier.
So all these people came to me when I moved here. So when I was back home, I only watched CNN, BBC. So those people I really love because those were the stars in my eyes, like people I saw on TV, and not so much Michael Jackson and Madonna. So it was when I moved to London, when I went to CSM, and then my eye just opened up to all this amazing pop culture, and I went wild because I was new to it and I wanted to experience everything. I wanted to try everything. I started wearing a dress. I started, you know, leaving home very late at night in a very short dress to go clubbing.
What, nag, or what did you go?
Loverboy.
Oh, yeah.
Loverboy at the time, which is brilliant. So I really had that. I think maybe that's why it's really helped my work because I'm in my 20s now, but I'm still grabbing so much from, you know, not being in the West. So I'm still like taking in so much stuff, and it sort of helps, I think, my work.
How often do you go back to Sierra Leone?
I've been 3 times in the past 10 years. I was in Sierra Leone, I think, 4 weeks ago.
Because it's very, very strong in your work. Africa is very, very, West Africa is very, very strong in your work.
Yeah.
And has it been easier now you can look back at it to absorb it? Or do you feel it's your mission to kind of promote the culture, to promote the incredible visual richness, the textures, the stories, you know, that are in your work? Is that part of making peace with your culture, or introducing it to the world, or what? How would you describe it?
I think I've fallen in love with it. You know, like when I moved here, I was so ashamed of it because you're forced into the space where people's um, ideas of Africa is very, like, you know, poor and not much going on there. So for a couple of years, I didn't really reference it. I didn't really, you know. But then over the past 5 years, you know, going back and, you know, looking at the photos of my mom and dad, you know, clubbing in the 80s, 90s, and then looking back at all my childhood memories, I really have to bring that into my work, because that's me. And if I can bring that into my work, then I shouldn't be doing this work. So I think going back home and just seeing things and colors and like people, like, I think Africans are so stylish, but because we don't look at trends, it's so much beautiful because people just layer up and just, you know, like, don't really care whether it's like 30 degrees. They're like 5 layers on and a hat and a fab boot. And I see those things, I'm like, wow, I mean, why didn't I take all of this in when I was here, when I was growing up here? So it's been good to go back home and just be one with it again, and also bring that into my work, and also push that. I think the world needs to know Africa is a beautiful space, and imaginative people that are doing things from very little. And I think it's very important for me to show that in my work.
Well, I think the whole, I know it, maybe it's a sweeping generalization to refer to West Africa, but when I think of you from Sierra Leone, I think of Mati Diop doing that movie Atlantics from Senegal, and Alpha Dia and Malik, as, you know, huge male models. And there's a sort of consciousness that what consciousness, a new consciousness of that region and what's coming out of it. What struck me with Atlantics and with your work is there's a sort of magic in it, but literally like a sort of folk magic, you know, like a sort of mystical quality, you know, in that movie and in your styling, that there's, it feels like you are drawing on those elements when you create those groups of people in the most extraordinary looks. I know you said that your grandfather was a chief, or what did you say?
My granddad from my mom's side was a chief.
Because there's something incredibly elegant and aristocratic and mystical in your work. Do you see that? Would you agree?
For sure. You know, like when I used to work with Barry was all about the stands. So I mean, the shoes you wear, the jacket, you know. So whenever I'm styling people, I want them to feel like the most beautiful people, you know. And it's the same thing when I travel and make a work, you know. Even if we're shooting in the poorest areas, I still want those kids to really feel like they've never looked their best and never felt their best, and I really want them to show in the final images. And, you know, going back to other people like doing work, I think also living in the West where you have all this freedom, and going to Africa with that same kind of mindset, you kind of go wild, you know. even though there's so many roles and, you know, things you can't really do in certain places, but I think just letting your mind just wander and just create things, like the most beautiful things come from that. And that's what I've taken my London kind of freedom of just, you know, doing anything I want to do. And my African, you know, background, and kind of putting them together and just letting myself go. And I think that's what what I feel when I'm making this work.
Is there something subversive in it, do you think? But are you challenging the orthodoxy, though? Because you make your men and women so beautiful, and you make them into other beings. There's a sort of otherness to them. I wonder how much of a challenge that is to the culture that you grew up in, that you're challenging traditional ideas of masculinity. You're challenging, you make men so elegant, and the word definitely isn't androgynous, because they're incredibly masculine in their sexuality, but I still feel challenged, and that's another thing I love, that there's always provocation in what you do, I think.
You know, that's how I sort of taking pictures. I always think if I am going through Vogue or any other magazine, I want to be able to stop and look at that photo twice. And it's the same thing when I'm making work. I want people to stop and just taking so much of what I've put into that picture. And I think for me, making photos is like an ad campaign. If it doesn't stop you, then it hasn't really done its job, because the whole point, even if you don't buy, but you need to sort of think about that when you go to bed. Oh, I saw that, you know, on the bus or something. And that's how I sort of make photos. I want people to look at it twice. And even when I'm putting men in like wedding dresses in an African setting, I want you to think, wow, this will never happen, but it is happening, because there's a boy on the street of Freetown wearing a dress, and people are not really doing anything to him, and he's able to just live his best life. And I think that sort of picture says a lot, because it kind of takes away your idea that Africans won't let boys wear dress. If you see that picture, you know, this boy might get killed, but that boy is in that picture. So it kind of messes up with your mind a bit. And those are the kind of stuff I try to, you know, bring into my work, where things are not supposed to be there, but they are there. And it's up to you to look at a photo and think, wow, you know, I would have never thought this is allowed.
And what impact does it have on kids like you in countries like Sierra Leone? Have you become a sort of a kind of cult hero to kids there? Do they know your work? Do they feel liberated by what you're doing?
I wouldn't say a cult hero, because I don't really know, but I get a lot of like emails and like, you know, from kids in like South Africa, East and West, and they're all like, you know, thank you so much for like, you know, dancing in that video, or you know, putting that boy in the dress. I feel like I can do the same. I want to be a stylist. I want to take photos. So it's been good to just, you know, like inspire young people to chase their dreams, and I hope there's a wave of new people of new people like me after this, that just go out and tell their truth.
I was looking at Soft Criminal, the body of work that you did with Christine, Lee Moulman, the photographer, and Gareth Wrighton, the designer. And one of the photos, it's sort of like what you're talking about, is the guy in the fuchsia tulle dress with the boxing gloves and the fuchsia boxing gloves in a very super strong image. It feels to me like there's a lot of stuff coming out of South Africa in particular now, a sort of illuminated LGBTQ sensibility. There's a lot of art, a lot of fashion, a lot of photography. Do you feel that things are changing? I mean, obviously we hear, as in the news generally, you normally hear the bad stuff before you hear the good stuff.
Yeah.
But is there, do you feel good things happening? Do you feel change happening? Do you feel Africa is the youngest continent by far, age-wise, in the world? I mean, just about everybody is under 20, you know. Do you feel a whole kind of revolution happening there? I mean, it is the future, we know that. But do you feel that when you're, or do you feel you're representing that even?
Yes, definitely. I think whenever I am working in Joburg or in Freetown or in Senegal, like people are so open-minded, but like if you go 20 years back, you really wouldn't have that. But I think because we have Instagram and Twitter and people are seeing things from different part of the world, so they're kind of like taking that energy and bringing it into their own world and forming their own subcultures. That's why I love to go back, because there's so much subcultures happening. Like, you know, London went through the 80s, the punks and all this amazing, the hippies and all this amazing 70s that happened. And I feel like Africa is sort of going through that at the moment, where there's so many subcultures. And you know, the styling that is coming out of those, you know, sub things that is going on, it's incredible. You know, filmmakers are using their phones to like make things. So I think it's so exciting to be going back and seeing young people just coming together, because they all have phones now. They can say, okay, you style, you make videos, come and work with me. And I think we are going to see so many great visuals coming out of Africa, if not now or in the next year or so, because there's so many kids just hungry to make work. And you know, if you look at festivals now in Ghana, these kids are going wild with costumes. You know, like making the most over the top things you wouldn't necessarily see 20 years ago. So I think my generation and the people after me are going to hopefully change the concept of what people think Africa is, and its its role in the space that we're all working in.
Well, I think that we're going to see that really, really quickly. I think that
For sure.
It might almost be one after effect of what Western Europe and America are going through right now with the crisis, with the Corona crisis. That I think the whole balance of power, the balance of the emphasis, where the world looks for hope and so on, is going to change completely over the next 50 years or so. And maybe even that's like conservative to think that. You have really excelled at collaboration. I feel that you've created worlds with other people. That feels to me also like something that's quite new, that there's a generosity of spirit. You know, it was quite interesting for me when I found out all these people who I love. Like I love your work. I love Kelsey Lou's work. I love Jack Davison's work. I love Tyler Mitchell's work. And then I find out that you all know each other, and that there actually is a whole sort of community of people who do work together and who inspire each other. So is that through technology, or how does that, I guess it is.
Yes, because we can all just DM each other. It's so easy. And then, you know, if Tyler is here, if Lou is here, if, you know, Jack lives so close to me. So we all sort of, you know, when Lou is here, Tyler is here, Campbell, all these people around me. So we all do dinners together and just have a great time. And we all talk. We all talk about projects, things that we're going through. You know, if I didn't have a group of people in my life, I think I'll be sort of lost. But I have all these amazing young people around me doing amazing things, and also respect my work, and I respect their work, and we all like, you know, we all just love each other, and I think it's really good because I want to see these people in 20 years and see where they are and what they're doing.
How does that fit with you talking about working in your own little corner and not being infected by what other people are doing, not being sort of influenced by what other people are doing? Do you have to, because all of those people are very, very strong visually, and they all have their own voices, and I imagine visually and you know, talent-wise, they're all quite unique. It's like when I talk to musicians sometimes, and they say, I can't listen to other people's music because I can't help it. I know I'm going to pick something up without realizing it. So how do you stay intact?
Honestly, I try not to be online that much, just so I don't consume so much. But I think given this time that we're in, I've just been trying to consume things that I find inspiring, and not what my friends think is cool, or trying to stay off the phone as much as I can. I think it's been so great because I can just look at other things and not be trying to think, oh, that's cool, that's what I should be doing. So I think it's been good to just be inside. But you know, I can't wait to see what my friends have been up to. You know, I'm dying to see the work they're doing after this, because I think it's going to be special that everyone gets to go into their own little world and make, and not be bothered by the noise.
You mean after this particular lockdown situation that we're all in, that everybody's been in their heads, and they're doing new work for them? How do you think you're going to have changed when you come out of it?
I think maybe more wild ideas, because I've been taking in way too much. I think I've been taking in way too much that I am usually allowed to. So I think there's so much time in my hand, and I've been writing as well. So, and you know, so I hope my vision gets bigger and bigger, and I can make those things happen.
So I was curious, when you've been working for people like Stella McCartney and Burberry, you know, when you become big in the business and everybody wants to buy your fabulosity, does that make you go back to your own work with a sort of a kind of urge to be more out there? I feel your work. I feel that your work has a naturally sort of quite extreme quality. And do you feel that that's actually what you will expand on, you know, when you're again? I mean, do you get a lot of freedom actually when you're working with magazines like Vogue? And
you know, yes, I do. I actually do, but also I work within that sort of freedom. I think, you know, like I work a lot with like Vogue Italia, and they're so incredible to work with, and they really push ideas. So I think it's been really good for me to sort of, you know, work with people like Ferdy, in my way, and all these amazing people at Vogue IT, and just be allowed to think. You know, 30 is so much fun when you work with them, because you're both just bouncing and playing. But also, I never want to lose who I am because I'm working for bigger people. I still want to maintain myself within that body of work. I think that's what I kind of want to go on with. No matter how big the brand is, I still want to be able to have my stamp on it. I think, you know, I love culture, and I think no matter how big a brand is, a brand needs culture. It needs the kids in the streets to lust after it. So I think when you lose that, you sort of lose that spark and that vision. And I never want to lose that. I never want to be blinded by money or how big I get in my world. I still want to be able to create from the heart and make work because I want to make it. And I've been very lucky to work with a lot of amazing people that just let me come in and do my thing, and they also do their thing, and then it becomes our thing because we're all kind of trying to dream and create a body of work that has never been seen before. And I really love doing things that have never been seen before. So I might go mad at the end because I'm always trying to outdo myself and really push myself. But I love that. I'm in my own little world, and I can't.
But you are a testament to the power of the stylist, because actually when you look at the pictures, they're going to hate me for saying this. It almost doesn't matter who the photographer is, because what you're seeing is the incredible, distillation and in the actual, it's like you made something and someone took a picture of it, but it's the thing that you made that you're looking at. That's what I find so exciting. And I wondered if, I think when Polly Mellon worked with Richard Avedon, for example, and you could see the relationship, or Nick Knight and Marcus Scoli doing the Yohji Yamamoto campaigns in the 80s, where you could see this kind of relationship where you were making something that for the photographer to take a picture of, and there's this excitement. It's incredible chemistry.
I think I will also get into trouble, so I wouldn't really answer that first part. But I
get into trouble. Let's do it.
I love the people I work with. I look at images as a cinema, and because we do so much, we research a lot in my studio. We build as characters. So I think you will see them in my work because they're just not standing there. They're, everything I put on people I style means something, or it's saying something. Sometimes it's not, but there's so much what's the word, character within those frames. And what I want people
character, that's the word.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think when people look at my work, they see a character.
Yeah.
What is this person playing? And I try to bring some characters back into new work.
Who are they? Who are your characters?
I love a woman that can just have 5 lovers or more. I love a killer. I love.
That's giving me an idea.
I'm
looking for something else to ask you, by the way. I'm not being rude, so keep talking.
No, I mean, there's so many things in my head, that I, little bits and bobs that I try to bring into the picture. And I love this guy, Quentin's work. Like, all his movies are so incredible. And
Who?
Tarantino?
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Because Quentin is somebody else. Quentin is a painter from you would like his work as well, but if you're talking about Quentin Tarantino, Quentin is definitely,
But I love all his films he's made. I think there's so much characters in there, and I sort of can relate to them.
I'm curious. You just mentioned something that you talked about. You talked about a woman with 5 lovers, and you talked about who was the next person you said was like a bad guy,
Bad guy, yeah.
No, you called that thing you did with Christine. You called it soft criminal, and then you call yourself sensitive thug. So is there a sort of outlaw thing going on with you? Do you think like you have a sort of, that's the way you kind of crystallize your outsider sensibility,
Yeah, but I think also that's my work. It's not expected. People like me coming from a very poor background, coming into fashion, you're not expected to sort of create those body of work. And also, I grew up in a very strict home where I couldn't really be myself. And then when I left to go to an art school, I became this wild being, and I was exposed to so much. So I think in a way I became this sensitive kind of thug that is, you know, I am vulnerable, but I'm also very active. I can, you know.
Violent?
Yes. What?
Violent?
I wasn't violent.
Vulnerable but violent?
Ish, but I mean, but in an art form, in a most beautiful form.
Mm.
And I think soft criminal was
Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal.
yes, sort of like, you know, you were so beautiful, but then you have this dark past and this dark secrets and this dark element to you that, you know, that I think is beautiful. And how
You like your work to have that edge? Do you? That
a little bit,
an edge of menace, maybe?
a little bit of sex, a little bit of dark edge, a little bit of romance, a little bit of culture, and tiny bit of violence, if I'm allowed to print those pictures. But also, religion plays a big role in my work too, because, you know, my dad was an imam, and then my mom is a Christian, so I sort of draw from those references and try not to get into trouble.
But there is spirituality. I think that's, I mean, even in the way that you relate to nature in your pictures, there's a spirit. There's this, the spirit of nature. Maybe it's not necessarily Christian or Muslim. You know, it's not traditional religious spirit, but there is an animism that actually is super powerful. I wanted to ask you something about. We talked a bit about this. How you didn't want 10 people coming along after you, and you know, to do what you do. You wanted people to find their own voice, to be inspired by you finding your voice. But I was at Central St. Martin's picking BA students for the Saraband scholarship. Yeah. And one of the students we picked was Kathy Myong, and you shot her outfit for Italian Vogue.
Oh yes.
And you shot her student look for Italian Vogue. Yeah. And I thought that was such an incredible thing that you took her BA look and put it with all these incredible designers. And that's when I really had a sense of how things can change, you know, how the world can open up and become, how fashion can become this could become this very inclusive thing.
So I think also that's how you bring people in that you really believe in. You know, even though we pull all this amazing stuff from the runway, I'm always looking at what the students are doing. You know, who do I think I can pair into my shoot and bring into my world? And I think that's how we have new talents. We shed light on new people, like the way people like Barry really pushed me. People like Judy Blaine really gave me a chance. And, you know, Days gave me my first fashion shoot. And then now with ID and Vogue, I think we just need to see people that we think have a point of view or are saying something, and then give them a chance. Because if we don't, then we're just going to be the same people doing the same thing. And I think it's, you know, culture doesn't really move that way, and beauty doesn't really move that way. We need new people to add to that, and I hope I am adding to that. And you know, there are other people that can come after me and you know, add to that as well. And then we can push this industry in the most beautiful light, and make it a space for everyone to be able to dream and feel like they can be a part of it. You know, when I came into fashion, I was so scared. I was so scared to you know, even if I see people like you on, even if I see you at fashion shows, I'll be so scared to come up to you, because I mean, at a time when Instagram was not such a thing, but now I can just DM you and tell you, Tim, I love you so much, and if you ever have time, have a coffee with me.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to.
No,
So when you have time, what is the world going to look like? What is fashion going to look like? What's going to happen? Are you optimistic?
I am, and I really think there's going to be a lot of beautiful things coming out of it. I think when you stop people for some time and then you just let them out again, I think so much beauty is going to come out of it, and so much ideas and so much great concepts. And I'm so excited to be part of that and, you know, push those ideas, you know, and I think people are thinking of the most amazing ways to make photos now with
Yes.
with very little things with them. And, you know, I see so much going on and I think it's beautiful. And I'm trying not to get too involved, but I'm loving it from afar. But I think it's going to be a very new world of of I think people are going to realize anything is possible, because if you're locked down and still making this body of work, you know what happens when we have everything back. You know, you can just go off and be even more, you know, over the top with ideas and vision.
It's going to be your world, and I can't wait to see what it looks like, and I'm very happy to be part of it. So thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll have that coffee. See you
Yeah,
soon.
please. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.